On May 7th, biologist Alexandra Morton and the law firm EcoJustice teamed up to file a lawsuit in the Vancouver Federal Court against the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans and the salmon farming company Marine Harvest Canada to prevent diseased farm salmon from being placed on the migration routes of BC's wild salmon.
We filed a lawsuit in federal court, and that lawsuit challenges the transfer provisions of Marine Harvest's fish farm license. And basically we say that the Canadian law does not allow the transfer of diseased fish into the ocean, and so any provision of a license that allows that kind of transfer is unlawful.
In February of this year, I was notified that the Marine Harvest hatchery in Sayward, called the Dalrymple hatchery, had Atlantic salmon smolts that were infected with a heart virus called the Piscine Reovirus. This is a virus I've been working on for the past year. It's from Norway. It damages the muscles of the fish. Even though these fish were infected with the Piscine Reovirus, Marine Harvest has been allowed to put these into net pens right on the Fraser sockeye migration route. I wrote to DFO, I talked to the company, I talked to the Ministry of Agriculture, the provincial ministry. Apparently, it's okay with everybody that these infected fish go into the water.
We have spent the last 2 years and $26 million of federal money to address the issue of the disappearance of wild salmon, and that conclusions of the inquiry suggest that disease is a serious concern, it's a serious culprit, it's something to be taken very, very seriously, and we feel that the provisions of this license that are almost cavalier in their approach to the risk of disease transfer.
The research that's out there right now is very strong in its warning. It says this virus has to be contained from spreading to the wild fish and affecting their populations. It says it spreads like wildfire. It says in a study where they tried to find it in the rivers that wild salmon with this in them probably are not even making it to the rivers. And so now we have diseased fish going onto the migration route of the Fraser sockeye. You know, even though Justice Cohen is saying that he feels that disease from salmon farms could be having an irrevocable impact on the Fraser sockeye, he's right. Because if this virus is spreading to the Fraser sockeye, which I believe it is, because I have found test results, positive test results in the Fraser River, in Fraser sockeye for this virus, up to 90% of the Fraser sockeye that get to Mission, get into the lower Fraser River, are not getting to their spawning grounds. We are not seeing them on the other side of Hell's Gate. So a virus that causes a flabby, loose heart, makes the fish muscles disintegrate, that very well could be what's stopping the Fraser sockeye from going up the river.
So basically the terms of the license say you cannot put diseased fish in the water, except where the company vet essentially has signed off and said we think the risk is low. And we say that whether or not that is legally valid, it is an improper decision. The company vet is obviously in some kind of conflict of interest when they work for the company and they're making the decision about what is safe for the entire fishery.
So, you know, the way this reads now, it is up to the company vet whether diseased Atlantic salmon go into the Pacific or not. This industry has become the gatekeeper of all the wild salmon in British Columbia. They are the ones to decide whether British Columbians are going to eat wild salmon with these viruses in them. We've done a lot of testing of farm salmon in supermarkets now, and one of the characteristics of the disease caused by Piscine Reovirus is a long, skinny fish. We see long, skinny salmon, Atlantic salmon, in the supermarket all the time, and they are testing positive for the Piscine Reovirus. We don't think it is low risk to put Piscine Reovirus infected Atlantic salmon smolts into the Pacific Ocean, when all the literature on this virus says it causes a severe disease, must be contained, spreads like wildfire. The province of British Columbia is the landlord of the industry, and they could turn this off right now because the province of British Columbia can terminate the lease agreement for the seafloor with every company within 60 days of notification with no compensation to the companies if it is in the public interest. I feel is absolutely essential to the survival of wild salmon in British Columbia to stop these companies from putting diseased fish into the water with the blessing of the Federal Minister of Fisheries.